You were driving through your old neighborhood recently. Tell me about that.
It was actually pretty crazy. It wasn't that long ago when I was driving through my neighborhood, and as I was driving by, I noticed that, we had these 4 windows on the front of the house, and the one on my room had a broken window pane, and I broke it when I was 7, and as I was driving by, I noticed that it was still broken. And it's kind of crazy when you think about it because, whenever I was growing up, I didn't realize like I was poor. I didn't think about being poor. Like, I ate every night and got pretty much everything I needed. But, in retrospect, whenever you go back through and you see something like that, it's like, that, the reason that window never got replaced is because, my mom bought the necessity. She bought what we had to have. She couldn't afford a window. So it was, it's interesting to see that how you catch these things as an adult that you don't realize when you're a kid.
Dan and I actually came from really similar situations. We both had single mothers, and we both had fathers that weren't really in the picture very much. Yeah, my little brother, me, my mom, we lived with my grandma in my grandma's house. That's where I grew up. And my brother and me shared a room. It was actually a laundry room. It was a very narrow room, and we had a bunk bed that we slept in. And that bunk bed, it had to be built in the room, and because there's no way it was going to fit otherwise, and it fit exactly right. I mean, there was not even 3 inches of clearance between the bed and the wall. So that means to get into the bunk bed, to get into the bottom bunk, you had to crawl in through the top. There was no just like getting in bed like normal from the side. You had to crawl in from the top to get in because the room was so small and the bed basically took up the entire room. So that was that was my childhood room. Yeah.
Like, did you have any career role models?
So when I grew up, what did I want to be when I grew up? Right? I wanted to be a postal worker, a mail carrier, and that's because my uncle was a mail carrier. And he drove a brand new Ford Ranger. He had a nice house, and for my birthday every year, he would give me $50. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And so I thought mail carriers, that postal workers were rich. So I thought, man, that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a postal worker growing up because relative to the situation that I was in, they were rich. So that was always my goal, always my dream. In school they call upon you, kids are saying all kinds of different stuff, and I was saying postal worker. It was always very bizarre, and I never heard anyone else say it, but yeah, that was me.
Did you and Dylan grow up near each other, and where did y'all grow up?
No, Dylan, me and Dylan, well, we're both from Kentucky, obviously, but he grew up in Bell County in Middlesboro, and I grew up in Whitley County. And it's actually not that far away. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's like 30 miles away if you were able to drive through the woods or whatever. But, as it stands, it's like an hour away.
What do you do for work, and how'd you hear about it? How'd you get started?
Well, it's kind of funny because I've always been interested in owning a business, right? Like, and college, like I had an eBay store, but it was so hard. Like it's just so hard to manage it at any real level. And then I got started with a job, and it's kind of funny because I was passionate about hustling. Like that was my thing. Is I loved just trying to make extra money, and that was really exciting for me. But I never really found anything that stuck. Like nothing seemed to work for me. And then, because I didn't really have time, I had like a full-time job, I had a family, I had all the, all the obligations that humans have whenever you turn into a grown-up. And one day there was, I worked at a online game company, and one day the CFO of the company comes in and he'd given his notice. And this is like mind-boggling to me because, we live in the middle of nowhere in Kentucky, and 6-figure jobs don't grow on trees here. There's not a lot of them. And this guy was making, well over 6 figures. And I remember I went to him and I was like, hey man, like, are you getting another job? And I knew, he had moved here from New Jersey. And I was like, are you moving back or what's going on? And he was like, no, man, I make more money selling on Amazon part-time than I do coming into work. And I was like, what? Like, at the time, honestly, I didn't even know you could sell on Amazon. Like, I thought that was the place that people sold, or that was the bookstore, the online bookstore. And I was like, you sell on Amazon and make more money? And he, yeah. And I was like, how do you ship the orders? And he was telling me about FBA, and that was, whenever he was telling me about that, it's like I was immediately drawn to it, because all the things I hated about my eBay store, like packing and shipping orders, dealing with customer service, like all of those awful, like time-consuming things didn't happen on Amazon. And it was crazy. Like, within a day, I got started. So I went and I got my very first credit card, and it was a $600 credit card. And I mean, as soon as I got that email and it's like, Amazon's receiving your inventory, I started seeing sales come in, and I was hooked. Like, it was right there that I was like, wow, this can be a real, just a real business, right? Like, it's the ability to be able to scale it and not have to pack and ship orders was something that was just, I knew it was something I could make money with, for sure. And within that first 4 months, I know, like, we had done probably $25,000 or $30,000 in sales off that little $600 credit card, and it was insane. Like, just the feeling of seeing it work, realizing that, it was my business, no matter what. Like, this is my business. This is something that I was building, one day at a time, and I was incredibly proud.
Tell me about what you were doing right before you came on.
Yeah, so I didn't do very good in high school, and I couldn't afford to go to a university. So I ended up in community college, and I got kind of lucky. While I was at community college, I ended up getting an IT job that paid $40,000 a year. So as far as I was concerned, I had made it. I was rich now. And as the years kind of went on, I started to realize that I was now trapped. So this was kind of like my dream, to just make a living, to have a decent job. But it dawned on me that the place that I was at, the only way I was ever going to move up, increase my salary, was if someone either retired or died. And I really I just wasn't willing to wait for that. I felt like I had potential to do more, and I wanted to be more, to be something more, and it just wasn't going to happen there. And luckily, as I was having those feelings, it kind of coincided with the ability for me to leave that job and just focus on being an entrepreneur, focus on Amazon full-time. So it was a no-brainer for me. It was so easy to make that decision because I was so tired of where I was at. And so I tell my wife, and she's super positive about it, super supportive. And then I tell my mom, and she is, and I love her to death, right? But she was much more nervous about it. In her eyes, I had already accomplished everything that she ever wanted out of me, and things that she wasn't able to accomplish, and other people in her family weren't able to do. And that's just like the mindset of people where we come from in Appalachia, that you can't make it, that you can't do it, you can't get, people don't start businesses, people don't get rich, that's not really how it works around here. So she had that mindset, but I did it anyway. Yeah, I did it anyway.
What does your mom think about everything now?
No, she loves the vacations that I put her on every year. Oh yeah, those beach vacations. She's a big fan.
She's gotten a little more comfortable.
Yeah, she loves that. Yeah,